Got a little color in here. All right, let me do it this way. Hello, everyone, again, and this is your Omi coming to you from Omi's Production Studio, also known as Oracle Divination Network off of Blog Talk Radio Station. And you know we are working on a series about Ifa will mend your broken heart. And when I say Ifa, I am including all of those traditional African religion, including the Kemetic teaching as well. They are one and the same, but just from different diasporas of Africa. But they're still traditional African religions. And we're on the topic of talking about and explaining those traditional African religions. And we're talking about Ifa will mend your broken heart. And we're clearing up some nomenclatures to better, not to take your Jesus away from you, but to make your Jesus better known and to clarify who your Jesus really was. And when I say Oromala, I am referring to your Jesus. That is just a proper name for him, which was stolen off the walls of Egypt. And you were given the story of the Jesus story and the Adam and Eve story when we had long sculptured the story of Oromala being God's right-hand prophet and being his right-hand man. So I want to clear up a few nomenclatures about this whole thing about Ifa will mend your broken hearts, because we're replacing those lies with truth. And we're asking the question, we're saying that Jesus is your Black Panther. Now, let me try to lay a foundation for you before you get all up in arms with me about just who this Jesus was, if he ever walked the face of this earth. There have been many stories formulated, and what I'm giving you is also a story. And most of your stories in the Bible, they are page sharing, or they are something that could have happened, but maybe not enough substantial evidence to prove it. So as we talk about Jesus, we're taking it from a perspective of a Black person and not from the Anglo-Saxon. So when I tell you that it was known that Jesus was a part of a party called the Black Panthers, and he and his men and 12 disciples were on a mission to save the Hebrews, because Jesus came to the Hebrews to save them. And because the Romans had the Hebrews under suppression like they would have done the Black people, and the Hebrews were struggling, they were fighting with the Romans, and the only thing they know for sure is that Jesus died fighting the Romans. So I feel like it's only fitting that I should take this story from the perspective that Jesus had been fighting the Romans. Now, everyone knows that Jesus had a cousin named John. And John the Baptist was one of those brothers who was out there in the conscious movement, who believed in eating honey and locusts, and he lived out in the wilds. And if you ever wanted to find John, you can find him out in the wilds, and he lived off the land, and he was a naturalist. And he believed in baptism. We know this because he was out baptizing brothers and sisters in the Father and the Son and in the name of the Holy Ghost. But when Jesus walked in and Jesus asked him to baptize him, and he said that he wasn't worthy to baptize Jesus, but he knew who Jesus was because he had been waiting for Jesus. And it was foretold that one would come that would be able to connect himself with the movement. So he thought Jesus was coming to connect himself with the movement, and John was all about throwing down and putting his dukes up, and he knew that Jesus was coming to his rescue to help him, because it was time for throwdown time, just like it is right now in our universe. They were tired of getting beat up on and seeing their people put out in the streets and killed in the street. And John said, I know you come to help me. And John had a plan. He had a plan. He was going to overthrow the Romans. And his whole plan was to get some guns and ammunition and go at it. Jesus got tired too, but he kept saying, wait a minute, John, I'm tired too. But I know we must appeal to these brothers with love, and we must appeal to them in the word, and the scriptures wasn't there at the time. So he couldn't have said the word, because there were no scriptures, okay? They had no book of any kind, and they weren't going to church either. So Jesus' whole concept was, maybe we can appeal to them through love and kindness, have I drawn them. But John said, no, I'll have it no other way. We have our chance to get our weapons and fight, and we know the right time to pounce on them. But Jesus kept saying, no, no, no. John, I'm not hearing that. We got to find a better way. So things kept happening. And John kept reminding Jesus, now look at this, Jesus. Are we going to let this go down? We're a conscious movement. I'm even wearing the Black Panther above my door. And this is a symbol that we some bad mother, shut your mouth. Well, I'm talking about the Black Panthers above his door. That was Jesus' emblem as well. They both took on the sign of the Black Panthers. Why do you think the Black Panthers are coming out now? They weren't sending you a message that this is the Panthers coming back. This is about showdown time. They're opposing a fight. They are trying to instigate a fight. They're trying to get black on black crime in addition to white and black fighting. Because the Black Panther represented the fact that there was a movement. Jesus agreed to that. He didn't care that they got him on sedition because he incited the people with his speech, because it was very, very powerful, like the Black Panthers did. They had this connotation that the Black Panthers stole from Jesus, and they used that concept because it had power. Wow. It had power. And Jesus was all in the black movement. You didn't know? You didn't know? Why, you think they brought this on us to let us know that there was a time when we had a serious movement with brothers who could bear arms, standing with their guns, and nothing could be said to them. They would break up in the showroom, and all meetings had to cease because they were there giving their message, and nothing could be done to them. And they were breaking out into all of these meetings, letting them know, if you don't leave me and mine alone, we are going to bear arms against you. That's all that they understood at that time. So they stayed away from the Black Panthers until they could get enough on them, until they can get them in their sleep. Jesus was plotting and scheming with John just like this. Just like this. Jesus even knew that they were plotting and scheming with somebody on the inside that was going to turn him in. He knew about Judas already. He was aware of it. And maybe Peter even knew too. Because Jesus talked to Peter quite a bit, and he told Peter, yes, I know you're going to be my rock. And I'm aware of the fact that there's an inside job. Somebody's going to say, get your hand out my pocket. There he is over there. That's the one. They knew Judas was going to sell him out for several pieces of gold. They knew this. So Jesus kept saying, what you have to do, do it quickly. But yet the Black Panther was above his door. That was his seal. That was his emblem. That was his logo. It wasn't just John's, but Jesus adapted it too. When Jesus got fed up with the way the Romans were treating the Hebrews, they even had the Nicene Council say, okay, these people love Jesus so much, I'm going to give them their Jesus. Give me that book. Let me change this stuff around. Yeah, you'll be serving Jesus all right, but you'll be serving him under our pretense. You will be one of us, a Roman. And at the Nicene Council, they decided that what kind of Jesus that they were going to serve. And they wrote it in a decree and said, this is the Jesus you'll serve. And they took out everything that the Africans had put in Christianity and transformed it at the Nicene Council and gave us a Jesus and changed the black Jesus to a white Caucasian Jesus. And henceforward, the Romans endorsed the Hebrews, celebrating the Jesus and Christianity because they knew they had changed the Christian faith and gave them a forfeit, a counterfeit religion. And they think they still have the Christianity that came from the Africans, and they have a Roman faith, and they slipped Jesus from blue-black to white. And they gave it back to the people. And they figured that this would settle them for a while. But in the meantime, they were still oppressing the Romans. They were still oppressing the Hebrews. The Romans were oppressing the Hebrew, and Jesus got tired of it. They got tired of eating the crumbs from the table and not being treated right. So they opt to stand up and to fight. And Jesus said, look, I don't know if I'm going to make it through this thing, but I do know you're going to have to carry the army. You're going to have to fight them, Jesus. I'm not going to be with you very much longer because they're coming for me. They're coming for me. They don't like the fact that I'm baptizing in the name of Jesus. They don't like the fact that I'm out here in the wilderness calling these people to me. So I'm telling you right now, Jesus, we have to break camp and go in there immediately and pounce on them. Jesus said, no, John, that ain't the way we got to go. John said, look, Jesus, I know you don't want to get no ammunition, but you got to get some ammunition. And Jesus said, I know, John. There's going to come a time when I'm going to have to commission the men to sell your coats, and buy a sword. It's showdown time. And John said, you're getting the picture, aren't you? You're getting the picture, aren't you, cousin? See, when Jesus was in Mary's womb, Mary's cousin was also being born John. And it was foretold that one was going to come that was going to support the movement. John was looking for Jesus. He knew Jesus was going to come, but he thought he was going to be fighting in the same spirit as him. He did not know that Jesus was going to be a milk and toast person until he convinced them that enough was enough. And one day Jesus came in and said, John, show you right. We can't beat these folks with just loving kindness. We're going to have to do something better. Come on in here, 12 disciples. Look at here. If you got any clothes, you got any money, anything you can sell your household goods, sell your coats, God dog it, and buy a sword. It's showdown time. So they knew that Jesus had finally confirmed to John's plan of coming after them. So they knew John had to go down. So they imprisoned John so that this fight would not go forward. In the meantime, they were citing Jesus for sedition. He incites the people because Jesus had given many speeches to the people about how they were going to have to fight, and now they have to get a sword. So the Romans couldn't have this. So, because they wanted John's head, the daughter of the Pharaoh said, I will dance for you if you give me anything I want. He said, if you dance for me, I'll give you anything you want. She said, anything? Anything. Anything? Anything. Well, give me the head of John the Baptist. You didn't mean that. You didn't mean that. Yes, I did. If I dance for you, I must have the head of John the Baptist. And his eagerness and desire to be entertained, he said, yes, I will. So she danced for him, and she danced for him. And after the dance was over, she says, "Where is my prize? I want the head of John the Baptist." And he gave her what she asked for. And now Jesus was left alone on this mission, but yet he was going to the cross. He never had a chance to get his army together. And when he was taken before Caesar, all of his 12 disciples, they scattered, forgetting the code of the Black Panthers, forgetting that they were supposed to fight, forgetting that there was showdown time. They even said that Peter was going to deny Jesus before the clock struck 12. And he denied him, like they said, 2 times. They scattered everywhere and denied that they ever was with Jesus. And then Jesus went to Caesar, and Caesar washed his hand with the matter and sent him back. He didn't want blood on his hand, and they didn't know what to do with Jesus. But they eventually, I understand, took him to the cross. But what I'm trying to get you to be mindful of, the Black Panther was not just another comic book theory. Because the time is right, it was to arouse us. Like the time when the Panthers were willing to put up their dukes and fight. It was a time to arouse you to the logo of the Black Panther. Maybe this philosophy was still in you, and you would erupt it and bring it back again and put it on the forefront. We're almost reached 430 years by the year of 2019. This is the year of the indigenous language. This is the year that all African Americans with 413Cs who have non-for-profit status can bring forth a celebration of their 400 and some odd 30 years out of slavery, and the government is giving funds to counties and to states where they can elicit for these grant funds to do this celebration. What do you think that this celebration is all about? It can't be to give the Negroes a chance to dance and kick up dust. It must be some other inauguration that's going to take place. It must be something that's getting ready to happen. Now that they've acknowledged that they let us out of slavery for 400 some odd years, what do they suppose we're going to do with our freedom now? What did they do before when they came out of slavery? Something must be getting ready to transpire. And this is what we have to listen for with more than just our ears, but with our heart. Ifa will mend their broken hearts. If we turn to Ifa now, learn the ways of the traditional fathers and ancestors. Understand that we have a magic stick. Understand that we can wave our wand and summon our ancestor at any given time. We have a genie in a bottle. Why not call on your ancestors from the genie in the bottle? Why not call on the ancestors and summon them here? Tell them the trouble that we have. Tell them the problems that we have. Tell them how we need delivering, and we need to tap into their melanin, and we need their presence here. I decree that if you should tell them the suffering, and that if we go into chanting at the same time of the day, that if we go into incantations and speaking over our prayers, that we call our ancestors on a daily basis, they're going to show up regularly. And not only will they show up, they will show out too. And we'll have the whole host of heaven on our side. And we'll be protected. Because what is about to come in the year of 2019 may mean that a large portion of us may have to die off. And they may be planning the termination of the Black race during that particular time. Because they know that a lot of people who will be celebrating these 400 some odd years out of slavery may be angry. and may take to the streets to riot and loot and fight, then what will happen with all of those trucks that they have parked and ready to go, and all of those caskets that they plan to use, because they're going to mow a lot of us down. Because some people cannot take it when you tell them that they are now free, or if you tell them that they were in slavery. There is usually a common reaction. And sometimes it's not always a tear of joy, but of resentment and retaliation. So what is going to happen during that year of 2019? Will there be celebrations upon celebration and slapping high fives? Oh, I's free, I's free at last. Woo, hallelujah. God bless America. No, it won't be any of that. I decree that some people are going to want to knock some heads off and say, how could you? I wish I knew how it feels to be free. I wish someone would take these chains. Would sing something like that. I'm sure she would. And in her efforts to understand what it means to be free, I believe beyond a shadow of a doubt that it's a setup, and we must be prepared. I don't believe there's going to be a celebration. And is this finally when they take us to the grave? Is this finally when they let the trucks out and that all plans are in effect? I was always taught that you meet defense by putting the other person on defense. Why would we wait and become proactive and not prepare for that day, knowing that anything can happen? And are they setting the scene by moving those out of the way who would have authority to change things? But we have to be very, very careful. A lot of us got to get prayed up. A lot of us have got to come out of these dead churches, because you know now that the Council of Nicaea brought Christianity in. It is a religion of the European faith. It is not your traditional African religion that you once believed. It came from a European because the Romans converted it. Don't believe me? Read the Council of Nicaea and see when they wrote Jesus into Christianity and what type of effect he was supposed to have on you. All of this is written. Jesus didn't come into the scene until they wrote the Council of Nicaea. You never had your Christianity of the African faith when they created it. You have a Romans version of Christianity. And you've been practicing it all this time and didn't know it. When I found this out, I immediately dismantled my membership from being a part of Christianity, because I've been so alive, and so are you. And you have not waken up long enough to read the documents and the writing on the wall. Now, if the American people have become such a burden on the powers to be, then you know they're going to mow down a lot of people, not just only black, but poor whites as well. This is a case against the richer, against the poor. And I do believe that most of the white poor are finding out what these plans are, and they're revealing them, because they know that they can be treated just like an African American, because their money doesn't run long enough. But I want to also tell you that you must quickly grow yourself up in spiritual things. You're going to have to rely on your spiritual mother with. You cannot just rely on television and commercials, because the media is printing what they want you to hear, not what you need to know. And it's very vital that we should get serious about our spirituality. And don't be afraid of disenfranchising yourself with memberships in the Christian faith. And don't be afraid of turning your back on your long committed churches. Do what you can to get as many of them out as you can. But there is going to be a waging of wars against the churches. Because so many times they have failed to tell you the truth about who the Black Panthers were, what they represent, and they have failed to tell you the truth about how God was on the side of the Black Panthers to help free us. It was just like the story that was in the Bible when Jesus was going to free us along with John the Baptist. A lot of Black Panthers got killed, and they didn't get to give us our full freedom because the government had the whole weight of the government on their shoulders, and the government went after the Black Panthers. Now, this Black Panthers is rising up again for a reason, and we must find out and delve into the purpose of showing us that movie, this time and this place, and why. But we must get a grip on the fact that our traditional African faith will mend our broken hearts and take away the sting of death. We must embrace ourselves and unite ourselves with our spiritual connection and our ancestors, and do that immediately. And don't despair, because you are going to need to be able to summon your ancestors at any given time. Yes, you're going to have to take out that forensic box of magic that's there in your kitchen. And you're going to have to sit down with your ancestors and rely on them to give you full instructions as to how to use the magic that you already possess. If you have not been stirring up the gift within inside of you, you probably don't know how to use your magic. You will have to consult your ancestors and be ready when the time comes, because you will have to sell your coat and buy a sword. And that means to gain knowledge of the Word of God so that your mouth becomes a sword, and the sword will speak with truth in due time. But you cannot go out here unprepared, not knowing the truth and understanding spiritual things. It's very vital that you spend some time with the Spirit alone. And on a daily basis, summon your ancestors and ask them to give you directions for the end time. Ask them to give you the strength that it's going to take over the next couple of years to sustain what the African race is going to go through. Ask them to allow us to be bypassed. Put the hyssop over your door and decree that your door is protected, because there's going to be a lot to contend with, because we're coming up on our 430 years. A lot of people are fearful that the blacks will be taking over and that we will be governing over the greenhouse. And if that is the case, a lot of people will have to die before these people get up out of their seats to hand you over the reign. But it is our time now. We've reached the 430 years come January 20th, 2019. And that is when they are going to commence with the celebration or with the evacuations. I'm not sure. But we will do a reading to find out what is prepared to happen during that particular time. But don't forget that this is a reinactivating rehearsal, and that the same rehearsal of watching the movie is just a rehearsal to get you prepared for the real thing. Remember that the mascot of Jesus and John was the Black Panthers. And don't forget it. Thank you so very much. You've been listening to Maddie Harvey's Baby Sister. And thank you for going on this journey with me, on my journey to Ifa will mend your broken hearts. Thank you so much. And do have a pleasant evening. Oh, Dalvin. Baba Boy to you, y'all. Peace.